Hello YouTube. One of my favorite guilds in any Elder Scrolls game used to be the Mages Guild. While their questlines weren't always the best, I always really enjoyed the guild as a concept. But in the more modern games, so Skyrim and the recent spin-offs, they've all but disappeared from Tamriel. And in this video I'll be covering the fall of the Mages Guild and the rise of the Empire's new magical institutions which replaced it, after the intro. Like I said in the video's introduction, players of the more modern Elder Scrolls games, so Skyrim and the different recent spin-offs, will have noticed that the Mages Guild, formerly a staple of every Elder Scrolls game, has all but disappeared. It's been replaced by two different magical institutions of the Empire, the Synod and the College of Whispers, and locally it's been replaced by local magical institutions like the College of Winterhold in Skyrim. Both modern magical institutions, so the Synod and the College of Whispers, are institutions of magical practice that are recognized by the Empire, both closely working with the Imperial government. They were both formed from former members of the Mages Guild, which was dissolved after the Oblivion crisis. Now, one of the big unanswered mysteries in Elder Scrolls lore is, why was the Mages Guild dissolved? And truth be told, we have very little information on the subject, but I think I've actually found the answer, and it's not what you probably think. You see a lot of YouTube videos and lore articles and Reddit posts over all these years, including one of my old videos, which has today in shame been taken offline after I discovered this big inaccuracy, state that the Mages Guild got dissolved out of external backlash against mages after the Oblivion crisis. That vision states that public opinion just turned on mages, and it was suspected by a large majority of the population that the Oblivion crisis had in fact been caused by mages, and thus people turned on the Mages Guild, which had always been secretive and, always been a bit strange and mysterious to the general population. Thus the population, which just heard that the Oblivion crisis was caused by fanatic lunatic mages, probably thought, oh hey, the Mages Guild. And then the Mages Guild just utterly collapsed, as some of the Elder Scrolls novels call it, due to that backlash from the population. But that theory, the entire thing that I just told you, is based on literally nothing. We don't know where that theory came from, but everyone just repeats it as if it's fact. Including me in the past, and including me just a few hours ago. Because I just blindly trusted some notes that I made in 2017 and just never fact-checked them until I was at the very end of editing this video and I found, that's not correct. There is no source for that entire theory. Instead, what we do have is in chapter 11 of the book Lord of Souls, one of the two official Elder Scrolls novels, where it says that the Mages Guild schismed after the Oblivion crisis. Schism meaning split into two, or multiple parts. This specific wording makes me think that it didn't dissolve out of external pressure, which again we just don't have any real source for as far as I can find. Rather, this wording seems to imply that it split into two out of internal pressure, and that instead of the College of Whispers and the Synod being two new organizations being founded after the Mages Guild got disbanded, these are two entities continuing the Mages Guild just under two very different philosophies, as we'll talk about later in the video. Now again, that's also theory, as we just don't have any concrete or specific lore information on why the Mages Guild split. We just have a few quotes where it says that it either got dissolved or utterly collapsed, and then we have the mention of the schism, which really makes me think this is probably just a split out of two internal forces which are fighting over two different philosophies, which again will make a lot of sense. As the two successors of the Mages Guild, the Synod and the College of Whispers, work under two very different philosophies, at least at the beginning of their existence. As the College of Whispers is willing to explore necromancy and Daedric magic, while the Synod isn't. You can probably see where I'm going with this, because in Oblivion we have the Mages Guild questline where the whole split of the Mages Guild between yes necromancy or no necromancy is very central to the questline. The Archmage during the time of Oblivion has banished necromancy, and you even hunt down some necromancers for the Mages Guild. I mean, Mandamarco and the necromancers are the central antagonists. So what I think happened is that the split or schism is a direct result of the effects of the questline in Oblivion, where at the end the Mages Guild just will no longer accept necromancy. Meanwhile, in the past, the Mages Guild did allow it, which is what even caused the conflict to begin with, because Hannibal Traven, the Archmage during the time of Oblivion, decided to really clamp down on necromancy instead of quietly allowing it. And I can just imagine the order of events. I mean, first Traven outlaws necromancy, then there's already a sort of schism in the guild with people not too happy with the fact that necromancy is just not allowed. Then the hero of Kvatch becomes Archmage after just being a member for less than a week after the questline, and then, just like any Bethesda protagonist, they just disappear, either becoming Sheogorath or disappearing in some other way. And then, you know, the hero of Kvatch hasn't decided anything as the Archmage, so there isn't really any competent leadership, meaning infighting, and then we get a split, and then the people who are okay with doing necromancy and even Daedric magic, which is probably very taboo after the Oblivion Crisis, they form themselves into the College of Whispers, and the people who are very against necromancy form the Synod. That's how I think it probably went, but again, we don't have any sources. I just think it's a more likely explanation considering the lore sources we actually have than the thing that the community has been propagating as fact for years now. Anyway, sloppily edited lore correction over, let's continue with what I had a few hours ago and talk about the Synod and College of Whispers, now that we know how the Mages Guild probably fell apart. We don't know all that much about either organization. However, the College of Whispers, of them we know that their guild halls are called cynosures. We also know that the College of Whispers was from the beginning shrouded in secrets, intent on continuing the practices of conjuration, necromancy and even Daedric summonings, even if it wouldn't make them very popular with the public, especially after the Oblivion Crisis. The Synod, on the other hand, seemingly started out trying to make a very civilized and wise impression on the people, as they seemingly refused to study anything related to conjuration, necromancy and the Daedra. The Synod in that respect seems to have started out as a far more open and transparent organization. Over time, however, these differences in public standing and secretivity kind of faded as the Synod became very secretive as well, trying to guard its secrets from the College of Whispers, with both apparently using magical encryption and secret codes in order to guard their studies and research. This has led to both organizations taking on similar positions within the Empire, with it seemingly also having similar reputations, but different specializations, as meanwhile the College of Whispers also seems to have become accepted by the people of the Empire and the government. The Synod and the College of Whispers both aspire to be the foremost institution of magic in the Empire, and they kind of have to always outclass each other in a bit of a rivalry, both taking on talented magical students and educating them to become mages and magical researchers to work for their respective organizations. They both constantly fight over the favor of both the Emperor and the Elder Council in an intense rivalry, in hopes of getting a one-up on the other, with the ultimate aim to become the primary magical institution of the Empire. Since both institutions were conceived around the start of the Fourth Era, they were both present during the Imperial crisis, the crisis where a large floating city from Oblivion would appear to threaten the safety of the Empire, and in turn all of Tamriel in the Elder Scrolls novels Infernal City and Lord of Souls. Link in the description to a video covering their entire plot in case you want to know more. Now, the Synod and the College of Whispers were then both tasked with investigating this mystical flying city of Umbriel, making it one of the first times in history when the two would cooperate against a common threat instead of trying to undermine each other. The Synod and College of Whispers would then participate in the novel's climactic final battle against Umbriel at the Imperial city, standing shoulder to shoulder for the first time and defending the city with all their power, causing them to receive credit with the public and by the Emperor for stopping the crisis, even though it wasn't truly them that stopped the threat, but the Emperor gave them credit in order to hopefully reconcile the two a bit. But yeah, this mutually perceived accomplishment led to a relaxation of tensions for a while reportedly, but in the subsequent years they would still continue their rivalry over becoming the foremost magical institution of the Empire. As this relaxation of tensions did not survive into the year 201 of the Fourth Era, the time of Skyrim, as by that point the institutions were once again squabbling over the Emperor's favor and fighting over magical secrets. We know from the College of Winterhold questline in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, where we can meet a member of the Synod, that part of the Synod's way in order to gain the Emperor's favor is by searching powerful magical artifacts that can be used against the Thalmor in the long run. While their continued rivalry might seem a little bit silly, the rivalry seems to form an advantage to the Emperor and the Elder Council most of the time, as the need to catch up to one another all the time has seemingly led to an increase in magical research and doubling of capacity for the Emperor for magical research, as he now has two competent magical organizations at his disposal for performing magical research, which both seem to be far more willing to listen to the Imperial government than the Mages Guild ever was. We know that both make great discoveries in their own fields over the years. For example, we know that the College of Whispers actually summons Daedra in order to question them, and has thus found out a lot about the creation of the world and even the origins of the dragons. According to a lore book, it was the College of Whispers who discovered that the dragons are eternal, unchanging, unyielding and genderless, and thus why there aren't any baby or female dragons, as I covered in another video. Meanwhile, the Synod has made its own advances. For example, they count among their members powerful and innovative enchanters like Yvonne Brienne, who wrote the catalogue of enchantments that we can find in the games, and is praised by our town wizard in the spin-off games The Elder Scrolls Blades for her part in magical research. In addition to that, the Synod has also had a mage named Lazarum as a member during the beginning of the Fourth Era, who worked out a way to fly by magical means. Not levitation, but actual flight. This secret was apparently shared with the College of Whispers in order to combat the flying city of Umbriel in the Elder Scrolls novels, in order to get Imperial soldiers up in the city and combat the threat. Also, both have incredibly strong political connections, as they both have influential members in the Elder Council, and back in the early 4th Era, the Empire's first known Prime Minister, under Emperor Titus Mede I, was a Synod member and a member of their leading Grand Council, which is the Grand Council which governs the Synod. We don't know how the College of Whispers is led, but then again, we don't know a lot about both. And this video basically just summarizes everything that we know, and I just scraped all the available lore. Now, that being said, that's basically all I can say about the Synod and the College of Whispers and the fall of the Mages Guild in the early 4th Era. And I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new about the Elder Scrolls lore today. And if you did, give the video a like or one of those new hype boost things so that YouTube knows that this video is worthy for their algorithm to push. And now all that remains for me to be done is to vocally thank my top Patreon supporters: Mr. Bernardo Binda, Gabriel Binda, King Chris 20, Volkior Vargonia, RB Dash, Lexicon, Sword of Bushido, Rakai, Spaceman, Ranger and James Lynch. It's thanks to these people and all the others on screen who are my lovely Patreon supporters and YouTube members that this channel stays alive and why I can take off time in my job to even make these Elder Scrolls lore videos. So huge thanks to them. Links are in the description if you want to join them and see your name on screen right now. With that being said, I will see all of you in the next Elder Scrolls lore video. Bye bye.